Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your Monday Night Raw post show. And man, there is a lot to talk about with what happened last night on Monday Night Raw. We hear from Brock Lesnar. We also hear from Oba Femi as well. We also see Seth Rollins. Looks like Seth Rollins has some unfinished business with Paul Heyman. We also hear from the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk and the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. And we'll talk all about that in today's episode, how I feel about last night's Monday Night Raw episode as well on today's podcast. And we'll talk about what my feeling is going into this year's WrestleMania as well, man. But let's start off the night with the Beast himself, Brock Lesnar. Brock comes out to the ring with his advocate, Paul Heyman. Heyman then hypes up Brock Lesnar, but the fans are chanting Oba. Oba, Oba. After that, Heyman then says the fans are pissing off Brock Lesnar. Heyman then says the fans are pissing Lesnar off because of what happened last week. More specifically, what happened to Brock by Oba Femi. Heyman says that Lesnar was distracted last week by Seth Rollins. But then Heyman says that Oba Femi is overhyped. Heyman then talks about Lesnar beating Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. Heyman also talks about Lesnar's other opponents that he's faced. Heyman mentions the likes of John Cena, Dean Ambrose, and Bobby Lashley. Fans kind of get all, hyped up when, Dean Ambrose's name was, announced, as well as Bobby Lashley, two guys right now that are under the AEW banner. Heyman then says a chilling warning to Oba Femi. After that, Heyman says that Oba will be conquered by the Beast, Brock Lesnar. After that, the lights go out. Oba Femi's music hits. Oba Femi makes his way out to the ring. Oba then gets in the ring. He stares down Lesnar and tells Lesnar no excuses. Lesnar then goes for an F5, but Oba then sends Lesnar out of the ring with a lariat, sending Lesnar out of the ring. Oba then stares down Lesnar once again out of the ring and yells at Lesnar, "You're finished." Lesnar then gets up, walks off. He's pissed off. But Lesnar then tells Oba Femi, "You're not that lucky." A couple of things I want to talk about with this, man, quickly. Number one, I don't know about you guys, man, but I am super, super excited about this matchup, man. Ever since this matchup was announced, man, a lot of fans are thrilled with the fact that WWE finally pulled the trigger and made this match official between Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar. And I'm definitely on that same boat, man. I was super, super excited that they actually announced this match. This match is official for this year's WrestleMania. Now, if you guys go back a couple weeks ago, Brock Lesnar came out to Monday Night Raw and with Paul Heyman and pretty much threw out an open challenge where nobody at that time accepted that open challenge. Now, the lead up to this year's WrestleMania, the rumor or speculation for that matter was that Brock Lesnar's opponent at WrestleMania was going to be none other than LA Knight. Thank God that did not happen, because I can tell you right now, if LA Knight was the guy to answer that open challenge, then I can tell you right now that WWE has no plans whatsoever to, move LA Knight up the ladder as far as being a top talent for WWE, because he would have got demolished by Brock Lesnar at this year's WrestleMania, and not for nothing, it's a matchup that I really gave a rat's ass about seeing. So I'm excited for this matchup, and I'm going to be honest, man, the matchup here between Oba and Brock, it really sells itself, to be honest with you. I mean, you got the Beast in Brock Lesnar, a guy that's standing at about 6'3", 6'4", 265 pounds, and then you got a guy like Oba Femi, man, the ruler, walking around, 6'4", 6'5", 320 pounds. I mean, Oba Femi is built like a brick shit house, bro. So, I mean, this matchup here between Brock and Oba is going to be one of those barn burner kind of matches, man. This match is going to be an absolute banger. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think this matchup, I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to steal the show at WrestleMania, but it's definitely going to be one of those matches that a lot of fans are going to keep a close eye on leading up to this year's WrestleMania, man. It's one of those matches that a lot of fans, and myself included, are very, very excited for. So we'll talk more about that matchup at the end of today's episode. But moving on from that, We go into our first official match of the night. It is the Usos taking on The Vision, Austin Theory, and Logan Paul. The match itself, I thought, was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between the Usos and The Vision, with The Vision keeping the pace of the match. Jimmy then hits a step-up enziguri in the middle of the ring, followed by Jey Uso hitting a spear on Austin Theory. Logan then sends Jimmy into the ring post. Logan then goes for the brass knuckles, but LA Knight's music hits. LA Knight comes out of nowhere and attacks Logan Paul ringside. LA Knight then finds the brass knuckles. He hands the brass knuckles to Jay, and then Jay then hits Theory in the middle of the ring with the brass knuckles. The referee ends up seeing this. The referee sounds for the bell, and the match ends in a disqualification, where the Vision get the win. After that, Jay then rushes back into the ring and attacks Logan Paul with the brass knuckles. So it looks like the Usos and the Vision are far from over. Moving on from that, we have Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. Becky says the fans cheer for someone that abandoned them for 10 years. Becky says that she took time off because the fans got tired of her winning. But Becky says when she came back, she didn't want to win the world title, but she wanted to win the Women's Intercontinental title. Becky says that she made the title. Becky says that she's tired of seeing AJ wearing the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and she also calls AJ Lee Jersey scum. After this, Becky then says AJ's biggest claim to fame was the Divas era, and Becky says that she destroyed the Divas era when she arrived on the main roster. After that, AJ Lee is here, but Becky runs off. She's standing in the crowd with a microphone. AJ Lee has a microphone and says that Becky tries to fight dirty. AJ Lee then says that maybe she needs to embarrass Becky for Becky to leave her alone. AJ then said that she's going to show Becky why she is the best in the world. AJ then says it will be herself taking on Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. After this, Becky then starts laughing, says that WrestleMania is her domain. And Becky says the last time we saw AJ Lee at WrestleMania, AJ Lee retired shortly after. Little back and forth banter there between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night is Javon Evans taking on Grayson Waller. I thought this was a good match. It was a back and forth matchup between Evans and Waller, with Evans keeping the pace of the match. Evans hits a springboard hurricanrana followed by a super kick. Evans then hits a Pele kick on Grayson Waller for a near fall. Waller gets up, hits a jumping knee on Evans, but Evans hits a running knee on Waller. Waller gets up, hits a blockbuster type maneuver on Evans for a near fall. Evans then gets up, hits a springboard hurricanrana off the top rope, followed by Evans hitting a OG cutter on Grayson Waller. Pins for the 3. And your winner of the match is Javon Evans. Hats off to Javon Evans for getting the win in this matchup. After that, we have Paul Heyman coming out to the ring. Now, earlier in the night, Paul Heyman was approached by Adam Pearce, where Paul Heyman, said that, pretty much he was going to leave the arena, that he had a bad night, he had a rough night. He was just going to leave the arena. But Adam Pearce then looks at, Paul Heyman and says, hey, where are you going? You have TV time. This time that you scheduled with me, that you wanted, well, you have that time. But that time is now. After that, Heyman then goes out to the ring, grabs a microphone, says he's having a really bad night. Heyman then says that he's having a bad night because there is nobody else to hide behind. Breakker is out. Bronson Reed's out. Logan Paul is hurt, and Austin Theory's nowhere to be found. Heyman then mocks Rollins. Heyman says that he's a man at the end of the day, and he's tired. He's been pushed too far. Heyman then says that maybe Rollins needs to come to the ring and put Heyman out of his misery. After that, Heyman then has his back turned to Rollins. Rollins is here. He's standing on the announce table, but the police are here, and they escort Rollins through the arena to go out of the the backstage area to get to leave the arena. But while they're doing this, Heyman has the microphone. He's mocking Rollins' family. He talks about Becky Lynch and mentions Rollins' family. But after that, Rollins somehow escapes the police. He ends up attacking Paul Heyman in the middle of the ring. But then Rollins is then escorted out of the ring from the police and WWE security. So it looks like Rollins has some unfinished business with Paul Heyman. And moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's the Kabuki Warriors taking on Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. The match itself, I thought, was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams with Lyra and Bayley keeping the pace of the match. Kairi Sane hits a spinning back fist on the outside, followed by Lyra hitting an enziguri. Lyra then follows it up by hitting a powerbomb on Kairi Sane for a near fall. Lyra then hits a spinning kick, followed by a fisherman buster, but Bayley's on the top rope, hits an elbow drop off the top rope for a near fall. Bayley then hits a Bayley to belly on Asuka on the outside onto the announce table. Lyra then hits a Nightwing in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. After the match, Lyra has a microphone and says that they can beat Lash Legend and Nia Jax. Bayley then says they run the women's tag team division, and Bayley says she wants a match against the women tag team champions next week, which Monday Night Raw next week will be live from Madison Square Garden. Moving on from that, we have an Intercontinental Championship matchup where it is Penta defending the Intercontinental title against former Intercontinental Champion Dominic Mysterio. But before the match even gets started between Penta and Dom, Stephanie Vaquer is here. She attacks Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. Liv and Stephanie both fight on the stage. The fight ends up going to the backstage area, most notably the gorilla position, where they're both separated by WWE security. It looks like Liv and Stephanie have some unfinished business going into their match at this year's WrestleMania. But as far as Penta and Dominic Mysterio are concerned, their match was a good match. Dominic quickly goes after Penta, but Penta is keeping the pace of the match. Penta hits a Hurricane Rana on Dom, followed by Penta hitting a Penta driver on Dominic Mysterio for a near fall. Penta then goes for a Mexican Destroyer, but Dom counters it with a Michinoku driver in the middle of the ring. After this, JD McDonough, who was ringside, causes a distraction. This allowed Mysterio to hit a 619, but Finn Balor's music hits. Finn Balor comes down to the ring, but JD runs after Finn, but Finn attacks JD McDonough. Dominic then goes for a frog splash on Penta, but Penta counters it with a roll-up, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still Intercontinental Champion, is Penta. After the match, you can see Finn Balor entering the ring. He attacks Dominic Mysterio, but Finn ends up hitting a coup de grace off the top rope, landing on JD McDonough. So it looks like Finn Balor has some unfinished business with Dominic Mysterio and the Judgment Day. And closing out the night, we have CM Punk, World Heavyweight Champion. He comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. Punk says that Jimmy Uso gave him a warning and that Jey Uso is on a warpath tonight. Punk says that Roman can't do anything without the Usos. In fact, Punk says that nobody in the bloodline can be the heavyweight champion of the world. Punk says that the awful things that he says and does sells their match at WrestleMania. But Punk says that he's tired of talking. After that, Punk says that Roman said one thing last week that pissed him off, when Roman called Punk old. Punk says that Roman doesn't deserve to call him old. Punk then asks the crowd if he's old. The crowd seems split on the decision. Punk says that he's old but not ashamed of it. Instead, that he's proud of it. Punk says that he's middle-aged and crazy, like the late great Terry Funk. Punk says that he is Mr. Game 7. Punk says that he's old but he feels great and that he's the best in the world. Punk says that Roman is underestimating him going into this year's WrestleMania. Punk says that after WrestleMania, Roman got beat by the old man. After this, CM Punk is interrupted by Jey Uso. Uso comes out to the ring. CM Punk then mocks Jey Uso and tells Jey Uso, "What are you going to do?" Jey says that Punk is old. Jey also says that Punk is still out here running his mouth about his family. After this, Jimmy Uso is here. He interrupts Jey Uso and CM Punk. Jimmy looks at Jey and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" Jimmy then says that Jey is unhinged. Jimmy then tells Jey to leave, but leave Punk to Roman. Jey then says all Punk does is talk shit. After this, they're all interrupted by the tribal chief himself, Roman Reigns. Roman comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone, and says the last time he checked, the Usos have already had their tag team match tonight. Roman then tells the Usos respectfully to leave the ring. Punk then says, no, the Usos should stay and see how this plays out. Usos then quickly attack CM Punk. Roman then attacks Punk. Jay then tells Roman, you know what to do. Roman then hits a spear on CM Punk. Jay then was outside the ring with Jimmy, being held back by WWE security, and Jay then is hollering at Roman to get Punk. Roman then hits a powerbomb on Punk, sending Punk through the announce table on the outside. Roman then walks away, but you can see CM Punk laughing it off like it didn't faze him at all. A couple of things I want to talk about with you guys, man, when it pertains to Monday Night Raw before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, this was a solid show, man. To be honest with you, we've been on the road to WrestleMania now since the Royal Rumble. And I think a lot of people had the same gripes about WWE on the fact that, man, it's been a slow burn going into this year's WrestleMania. Where's the hype at? Where's the excitement? Where's the intrigue going into this year's WrestleMania? And for a while, bro, a lot of people were like, man, this WrestleMania, myself included, we're like, man, you know what? I don't think this WrestleMania is going to be all that good this year. It might be worse this year than it was last year. But then we slowly started picking up the pace. We slowly started getting matches announced. We got Roman and Punk. We got now Orton and Rhodes. And now we have Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. Now, I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about Obafemi and Brock Lesnar, how I feel about that in detail, man. Number one, I'm excited for the match. I think this is a match where, like I said earlier, man, you got two guys that are built like, brick shit houses. I mean, you got Brock Lesnar where he's walking around 6'3", 265 pounds, NCAA champion, former UFC World Heavyweight champion, a powerhouse. And then you got across the ring, you got a guy like Obafemi who's walking around 6'4", 6'5", 320 pounds, built like a brick shithouse, man. And you got two Goliaths in the ring, man. This is a heavyweight bout for the ages right here between the likes of Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. Now, in my opinion, going into this match, man, at WrestleMania between Obafemi and Lesnar, this is just my opinion. Obafemi should go over in this matchup and get the win over Lesnar. I mean, we're talking about a guy, man, where, Obafemi has been with WWE now for a few years. Obviously, a majority of his career has been in NXT. He just recently got caught up, but he's a force to be reckoned with, man. This is a guy that can really, be the future of this business, most specifically WWE, for the next 10, 15 years. I mean, bro, when his music hits, man, and the fans are chanting Oba, it's a lot of similarities to what Goldberg was doing in WCW. Obafemi has that mantra around him, bro, where it's must-see television when Oba comes out to the ring. Because you want to see what this guy's going to do. Because he's an indestructible force, bro. This guy, like I said, he's built like a brick shithouse. So to see someone like Obafemi go up against Brock Lesnar, I mean, this probably means everything to Oba, man. I mean, there was a friend of mine pointed this out. I didn't even know that this actually happened. But he pointed it out to me when Obafemi hit that pump-up powerbomb on Lesnar. When he did that and he was standing over Brock Lesnar, you can legitimately see tears rolling down Obafemi's face, because it's not because it was, obviously the powerbomb, hurt him or affected him in any kind of way. It affected Obafemi emotionally. This was something at this moment where at the time he probably thought, holy shit, man, I've been with this company now for a couple of years and I'm in a, high-profile marquee matchup at WrestleMania against a guy that is an absolute beast in Brock Lesnar. You might not have to like Brock Lesnar or respect Lesnar or, follow his coattails, if you will, but you can't discredit the guy that the fact that when, Lesnar came into WWE, he was the next big star. He was the next big thing. And that's exactly what it was. And we're talking about a guy that also beat Taker Streak at WrestleMania. So this is a big-time moment and a big-time accolade for a guy like Obafemi, who just got called up on the main roster, and now his first match at WrestleMania is against the likes of Brock Lesnar. So, I mean, obviously, emotions are running high for Oba, and it's a lot of pressure. I mean, you got to understand this too, bro. I mean, Obafemi has been the talk of the town for a while. I mean, when John Cena announced his retirement tour and put on that Last Time Is Now tournament, I'll be the first one to tell you that I wish that Obafemi was in that tournament. I even told you guys that the finals of that tournament should have been Gunther versus Obafemi. And that's another match for Oba that's on the table. Obafemi versus Gunther, which would sell like sliced bread, bro. I mean, there's a lot of matches that Oba can have in WWE that a lot of fans are going to be very intrigued with throughout Oba Femi's career in WWE. And this is one of them. This match here between himself and Brock Lesnar. It's going to be one hell of a match, and a match that I think a lot of fans are going to have eyeballs onto. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to steal the show, but it's definitely one of those matches where I think, time's going to stand still for a minute. When these two get in the ring and have a match for the first time, and they lock up in the middle of the ring. Because I'm telling you right now, man, that's going to be a big-time moment. Not only for Oba Femi, but for the entire WWE universe, man. Because they want to see these two guys lock horns in the middle of the ring. And that's going to happen in about 4 weeks when these two Goliaths tear the house down in Vegas at WrestleMania. So I'm definitely excited for that. I also want to talk about CM Punk and Roman Reigns, man. Obviously, these guys have been going back and forth, on the microphone, whether it's Roman, shooting jabs at Punk and vice versa. But we've had CM Punk made it personal. And this is something now that because he made it personal, you see the Usos getting involved. And the fact that Jay is immensely pissed off. Roman's obviously pissed off because of the comments that CM Punk made. Other members in the bloodline that are outside WWE made their comments about CM Punk and how they're pissed off. Rikishi made comments towards CM Punk for the comments that Punk made against Roman Reigns and Sika. So obviously that comment that Punk made ruffled a lot of feathers, man. Especially in the bloodline. But my thing is this too. If you go back and watch Raw last night, there was a moment backstage around the production trucks area and stuff like that where LA Knight approached the Usos. And, you can tell Jay was pissed off and irate and everything else like that. And Jay walks off. But then Jimmy tells LA Knight, be careful what you say about my family. But the entire time they're talking and having this interaction, on the top right corner, when, LA Knight and Jimmy were talking, you can see a picture of The Rock. And seemingly only The Rock on this production truck. So my thing is this, and call me a conspiracy theorist if you want. Are we going to see something here when maybe The Rock, a.k.a. Dwayne Johnson, get involved somehow in this CM Punk fiasco with the Bloodline? Because after last night, bro, a lot of people are even hinting at the fact that WWE might reunite the Bloodline after what happened last night, minus Solo Sikoa, where it's just Roman, Jimmy, and Jay as the Bloodline. Or is this something where maybe The Rock does get involved? Maybe he backs up CM Punk. I don't know. Maybe this sets up a matchup here between Roman and The Rock for next year's WrestleMania. I don't know. But it is kind of daunting after seeing what I saw last night with that back and forth banter between LA Knight and Jimmy Uso, and then you see The Rock's picture, and only The Rock's picture, on this production truck. So is The Rock somehow going to get involved in this? I mean, again, if we go back in time with The Rock, you look at the situation with Cody Rhodes and Roman, the WrestleMania in Philly. A lot of that came down to family. And, The Rock smacking the piss out of Rhodes because of the family issue. And The Rock's a part of that bloodline. Is this something where maybe The Rock makes an appearance? Maybe a week before WrestleMania or 2 weeks before WrestleMania. Kind of gives CM Punk a heads up like, hey, you messed up. Whatever you do, you don't talk about my bloodline. You don't talk about my family. And maybe The Rock comes in as an insurance policy for Roman, where he kind of ruffles CM Punk's feathers going into this year's WrestleMania. Possible. It's a possibility. It's definitely possible. And I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup as well. So, again, man, I think... I genuinely think now that WWE is finally, getting out of the slow lane, and we're finally in the fast lane a little bit, picking up momentum and intrigue and excitement going into this year's WrestleMania. Now with 3 marquee matches that are announced, we also have Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan, Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley, maybe Io Sky and Asuka possibly at this year's WrestleMania. The other thing I want to talk about quickly too before I get out of here is Gunther. We have not seen Gunther now, I think, for 2-3 weeks. A lot of people are saying, oh, there's no way that Gunther's not going to have a match at WrestleMania. I'm not sitting here saying that he shouldn't be at WrestleMania or shouldn't have a match at WrestleMania, but honestly, truthfully, I'm not going to be surprised if we don't see the likes of Gunther at this year's WrestleMania. Just based upon storylines alone and the fact that he has this career killer mantra around his name, I wouldn't put Gunther in some kind of bullshit match unless it absolutely meant something. I know some people were talking about Rey Mysterio after what happened with Dragon Lee? Or is this something where maybe Penta has a match at WrestleMania where he puts the Intercontinental title on the line against Gunther at this year's WrestleMania? I mean, it's due to the fact that Dragon Lee has been a thorn in the side of Gunther ever since what Gunther did to AJ Styles. So, obviously there's some unfinished business there from Gunther and Dragon Lee, but is this something that's going to go from Gunther to Dragon Lee to Gunther and Penta, or Gunther versus Rey Mysterio at this year's WrestleMania? So it's going to be very telling to see what happens in the next couple of weeks, man. We got roughly about 4 weeks until we get to WrestleMania. I'm excited. I'm thrilled, man. I'm excited for Obafemi versus Lesnar, Orton and Rhodes, as well as CM Punk and Roman Reigns, man. I think this WrestleMania this year is going to be very, very interesting, man. But with that being said, though, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.